Hello and welcome. It's a bit of a windy day and I'm standing on top of a railway embankment, but I hope that you can hear me okay. This is the sort of thing I really like doing, being out in nature. Lovely lake down there. I can see a great egret and there's other birds around. This railway embankment, quite a lot of work went into it because you can see it's quite high, and I'm going to take you to a destroyed bridge on this railway line, which for me is something I find particularly impressive. So I am near a place called Kruklanki, which in German was Kruglanken or Kruglanken, something. Kruglanken, I think it was, and it's only a small village, not a particularly large place, but nearby Himmler had a house not so far from here, within walking distance, about 6 kilometers or so from here, and he also had his field headquarters, which a place called Hochwald de Possesje, and Hochwald isn't the translation, it was Possession in German. And that was where Himmler would hang out when he needed to talk to Hitler, who was at the Wolf's Lair, which was nearby. So that gives you a little overview. There were a number of other Nazis had their field headquarters, as they called them, nearby, such as Ribbentrop had his, and Hans Lammers also had one nearby as well. Goering had a place in the Wolf's Lair, but he didn't like it at all, and he had a palace, a bit like Karenhal, not so far, well, about an hour I suppose it would be from here. I can't see that in any of my videos, so that's now inside Russia. It's just it's only about a couple of kilometers inside the border, even less than that, but obviously I can't go there. But anyway, so that gives you an idea on this bridge. And you may have seen videos I did from a place called Staniczki, and there the double viaducts, really impressive in my opinion. But also this bridge here, I've shown you where it is out in the countryside, and to me I find this really interesting. I really like industrial heritage, and not only that, as a child I'd run up and down the railway line, as it was called, and there was no railways there. The railways in Britain were dug up in the mid-1960s, so they were gone by the time the railways themselves were gone by the time I was playing on them. So this bridge here dates to the first decade of the 20th century, and here it was built to cross the river which is below. Now, like at Staniczki, the river is very small. In fact, this one's comparable to that one. Of course, there were 2 bridges there, but here you can see from here, this angle, how powerful this bridge was. That's how big it was, how impressive it was. 5 arches in it. It was built of reinforced concrete, and inside it's full. It's not sort of empty inside. It's whatever the word is. It's complete. And this served the line between what's today Węgorzewo, so that was Angerburg, and Giżycko today, which was then Lötzen. And get a really good look from here at how impressive the bridge actually was. You can see the parts of the reinforced concrete. Now bear in mind that reinforced bit, that's now 100 and almost 120 years old, and it's still in position like that. Now, during the First World War, the Russians got here, and now if you have a look at the map, you'll see it's quite deep inside East Prussia, and but they were halted at Giżycko, Lötzen. A huge fortress can be found at Lötzen, still intact, still today. Boyen, Westerboyen. It's really also supremely, really impressive. And so this bridge was blown up on one side by German engineers. It was pretty new. Bit like I did a video from Slovenia, from a bridge there, which had been opened by the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, later to be shot at Sarajevo, and it was then the largest bridge of its type in the world, going over the Socha River, the Isonzo River. Anyway, that I found really impressive, and that was blown up a couple of times during the First World War. So this was, part of it was blown up, but only part was blown up, and so it was repaired quite quickly, and it was able to come into use. Indeed, there were plans to actually link these lines up to all sorts of other places, but the war didn't go in favour of Germany, and so as a result that wasn't possible, because the governments in Lithuania and Poland weren't really interested in collaborating on a project of this nature. I'll take you over to the sign here, which and I'll read it to you, what it says, because I read it earlier, and the reason for its destruction you won't believe, so I'm going to point at the words. So this is called the Destroyed Bridge, and here we have a picture from the First World War, so the being repaired after the First World War. Now notice, and this is very common in many areas like this, that the vegetation cover was much less then as it is today. Because bear in mind, after the end of the Second World War, the population from here was forced to leave, and new people came in. Anyway, so let's read about this. Spalony Most, so the destroyed bridge. And so at the beginning, at the end of the 19th century in East Prussia, the end of the 19th century East Prussia was a time of intensive development of roads and rail and water communications. Kruklanki was on the railway line linking Giżycko and Węgorzewo, and the line was finished in 1908. Other parts of the infrastructure, such as the embankments, the cuttings, the viaducts, the bridges, the railway buildings, the railway stations, the loading ramps, etc., were left to be done. Now, the bridge on the River Sapina is known by the people today as the Destroyed Bridge. It was one of the biggest rail bridges around here. It was a 5-arched reinforced concrete and full walled structure. In August 1914, during the First World War, German sappers blew up one of the arches, the eastern one, so that the Russians wouldn't capture it. This destruction was repaired during the war, and extra reinforcement was done for those other parts of the bridge. In 1945, whilst the attack from the Soviets was expected, the bridge was mined and a detonator was put into a observation observation shelter at the top of the hill, which is today the panorama point. Now, for unknown reasons, I'm going to have to bring this down here. For unknown reasons, the didn't blow up, and it was so well hidden that it wasn't found for half a year. And as unbelievable as this may sound, even more so that the bridge was used for army transports carrying, for example, the rails from the railway lines which the Soviets were actually taking for themselves, and other goods which were taken as booty, war booty. Right, now, 8th of September 1945, the bridge was blown up by local people who hoped in this way that they could stop looting. Looting of what? They hoped to stop the looting by the Soviets of property from here. So this bridge was one of an important rail communication. The new people who came in here were from other parts of Poland, which had been occupied by the Soviet Union. And despite the fact this was going to Poland, the Soviets decided they were going to loot it anyway, even though Poland was under communist occupation. So the locals tried to stop them doing the looting, which I find quite impressive. It's also worth pointing out that this bridge was an important communications hub during the attack on Poland in 1939. So the muster points were to the south of here, obviously, because the Polish border is some distance, a former Polish border, but all the same. So it would have seen a lot of troop transports. Now, when it was built for these bus trains. It's sort of it's like a small, like one carriage thing. It has maybe carry about 40 people, something of that nature. And in some countries they're quite popular. See a lot of them, for example, in Switzerland. You do get one or two of them in Poland. I'm sure they exist in the UK. I just can't recall seeing them. Maybe they exist in some more isolated part of Wales or Scotland, for example. I think maybe along the line between Newcastle and Carlisle, if it still exists. So there you go. There is this bridge. This is just the sort of thing I like to see and show. Interesting aspect of history from it, real history. So if you found that interesting, I'm now uploading every day, although most days it's only a short video. But on Fridays I do a longer video, and on Tuesdays tends to be a little bit longer as well. For those who are interested, I've now got more than 730 videos on the premium site. I think it's either €5 or €6 a month, and so I must point out that they're not most of them are really quite short videos, but all the same there's 730 now to be seen. There are some longer ones as well. So hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching. All the best from me in Poland.